Hi, my name is Gudrun from GE Designs. Welcome to Facebook Friday. Welcome everybody. Thanks for spending your Friday afternoon with me. Well, it's Friday afternoon here, but maybe not where you are. It's great to have you here. If you're new, make sure you post your name in the comments and where you're tuning in from. It's always fun to see where you are. And I see we have a lot of people joining us already. It's interesting now that some parts of the U.S. are coming out of quarantine. Things are opening up, and so you're seeing less activity during these lives. We're not all stuck at home, but I appreciate you that are here. Now, it's been a fun week, actually feeling like I'm getting a lot of stuff done, which is always a good thing. But of course, we kick off every Friday with a cocktail. And so this is another classic and another twist that I put on it. So I don't know if you've been to the Caribbean, but if you have, you may have had a Painkiller or any other resort. Painkiller is a classic cocktail that is very popular to drink, especially kind of in the early in the day or in the morning. However, so the Painkiller that I've tried at bars or resorts, they're always too sweet for me. So sweet. But I wanted to make my own twist on it and see if I could come up with something that's a little less sweet. And I found the perfect combination. So here is my Painkiller recipe. So in there you have, I put pineapple rum. You're normally just supposed to put regular rum. I put pineapple rum and then a little bit of dark rum for that extra layer. And then you have pineapple juice, orange juice, and cream of coconut. Now the amounts of it is a lot different from a regular classic Painkiller. I actually just lessened the amount of juice and the cream of coconut because it is overly sweet when it's all together. You shake it all up, and then I just top it off with some club soda or sparkling water just to kind of lessen the sweetness. And then you sprinkle some nutmeg on top for that true Painkiller. And actually, it's quite delicious. I have to give a little warning though. These are strong. You don't taste it, but you will feel it. So they will take any pain away very, very, very nicely, whatever it is. So just one goes a long way, and probably the whole way. So just wanted to put that out there. But they are delicious, very delicious. Really a lot of that pineapple flavor with a hint of coconut, not too overpowering.
Consult your doctor first.
Consult your doctor, says Mr. Honey, before you have a Painkiller. You know, it is a good doctor sometimes. Really, truly. But very good for summer, all those summer flavors, tropical flavors. But we have, of course, a giveaway, so stay with us to the end. We have a giveaway at the end. And today, from last week, we had a winner last week. So the winner from last week was Nicole Einrim. I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm sorry, Nicole, but you're our winner. You have won $25 gift card to spend in our store, online store. And I asked you guys what was your favorite bird, and hers were cardinals. A lot of you had mentioned cardinals. They are fun for me because they are not native in Iceland. So I remember our first winter here. I loved watching the cardinals. It was awesome. So today I actually want to do a few things. I notice I always try to look kind of into what is going on in the crew and see what kind of questions are coming up or anybody's having issues. So there's a lot of new Stepology users out there because a lot of you have purchased the rulers since our sew-alongs. And I've gotten a couple of emails of people having a little trouble. So I wanted to point out first a couple of things. So all of the Stepology 101 videos are aimed at showing you all the things that these rulers can do. So if you haven't yet, watch those videos. But there's always a little troubleshooting when you're starting. There is a little bit of a learning curve on getting used to using the rulers, and especially like what cutters and stuff. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a demo today, just a little troubleshooting, and show you the different cutters and how to kind of maneuver the different cutters. There's really only one type of cutter you cannot use with the rulers, and I'm going to talk to you about all of that. Now, I did something for the first time last night. I presented a lecture to a guild in Illinois virtually. And so I had promised to give you guys an update how that went. And it went well, I should say. So this was done via Zoom. So they set up the Zoom meeting and then we joined in and I did my lecture almost to the end. We had about 5 to 10 minutes left when we got kicked out of the broadcast on Zoom. And after our little research today and to figure out how that happened and why, we have come to find out that it was most likely Zoom, because they really don't like it when you're using external cameras. So that was probably the issue. So we're figuring it out, because I had told you if that wouldn't go well, we would roll this out and I would offer this to all of my dates that I have booked for guilds if they are interested in doing their lectures that I've been booked at via Zoom. And so everybody just watching from home. And so we still have a way to do it. And so we just got to figure out the little details and then we are going to open it up. And the awesome part too, then we can open it up to anybody too. Just have regular scheduled lectures that anybody could just purchase a ticket and join in from wherever you are in the world. And I think that's what's really exciting and really cool, because a lot of you live in places where there is not a guild. You might not belong to a guild, or you might be on the other side of the world. So not a place where you would ever be able to take a lecture from me in person. So, but it was really good. So what I really wanted out of a virtual lecture, for it to be really worth it, is to have that front camera so I could, speak to the audience and tell my stories. Also kind of go back and forth to my slideshow, which I always do a PowerPoint presentation that has photos of quilts and also has videos of my rulers and things. And so I was able to go back and forth between those two. But one of the great things about having a lecture in person is, of course, seeing the quilts in person. And so I knew that was going to be a thing that's going to be the hard part and going to be different, because even though if I were to hold my quilts up for you, you're still looking at it on a small screen. So instead, what I did, we were able to use our overhead camera. So I laid my quilts on this table so that you were able to see kind of a close-up of each of the quilts, which kind of gives a little one-up from being an in-person lecture, because if you're in a lecture hall and you're in the way back, all you're seeing is a quilt from this distance. So you don't get to see the close-ups, you don't get to see the quilting, and maybe not, the colors and the fabrics used. So that's kind of the cool aspect of doing it like that. So I'm excited about it. I think it's a great kind of move into the future until we can be in person, which may be a while, we don't know. So this is a way to kind of connect on that level. So that was fun though. It was fun reaching out and kind of, I imagined myself being in Chicago kind of with those folks, even though I wasn't. But so let's see how many of you are here. There's a lot of folks joining us, and great to see everybody. I think we have most of the states represented. I was kind of going through while we were counting down. And Lisa said she would definitely participate in online lectures. And Lori says, resume unless you have a pro account, you're kicked out at 45 minutes. Yeah, they did, and they had that set up, but there's, we even read today that Zoom has some changes coming end of May. They opened up a lot of things with having, with COVID going on, and so I think they're going to be stricter on external cameras even going forward. So, there's all kinds of things going on, but we will figure it out for you. Now, so I wanted to, like, this little demo that I wanted to show you. So I think we should just dive into that, because there's more things I want to show you later on. So I have pulled out all of my cutters that I found. Not all of them. I shouldn't say all of them, but most of them. All the different types that I have to show you. So for the Stepology rulers, first off, the difference between using these rulers and regular rulers is that we're cutting through the ruler and not just on the side of it. So we are going to need, at minimum, a 45 millimeter blade. Nothing smaller will work because it doesn't have enough blade to reach through the ruler through the fabric. So your 60 millimeter cutters will work, and most of your 45 millimeter cutters will work. However, the only cutters that I do not recommend are the ones that don't have a manual blade guard to pull down. So this one, for example, it only works when I push down, then the blade comes out and I make my cuts. That will not work with a ruler, or I at least don't recommend it, because if you would have to push down into each of the slits, and that's really gonna kind of start chipping away at your ruler. So I do not recommend those types of cutters. So if you have one, I would not use that with a ruler. The 60 or the 45s, the 60s will allow you to cut more fabric layers than the 45s. I recommend 4 to 6 layers of fabric when you're using the 45 millimeter cutters, and you can cut up to 8-10 layers with the 60. And the difference is really just the amount of blade. So when you pull the blade guard back, you'll see the amount of blade that is sticking out here versus the 45. So that is really the key element. And so if you have different brand cutters, what I recommend you do is check your blade. So pull your blade guard back and see how much blade you have. If it's not working very well for you, then check that, because some cutters are, they're all designed a little bit different. I know Fisker's cutters have a really round backside here, and so even their 60 millimeter cutters, when you pull the blade guard back, it still does not have a lot of blade showing. So then it kind of defeats the purpose, because you don't have more blade. Now if you have the Martelli cutters, they have a lot of blade. So once you pull that back, you have a lot of blade. So both the 60 and the 45 millimeter Martellis work really well for the ruler. So when we're cutting, I just grabbed some fabric just to show you. So I'm not gonna go in detail into how to fold or anything like that, but the key to get strips, I'm just quickly gonna say this. I've talked about it in so many other videos. You wanna take your bolt fold, fold it all the way over the selvages so that you can see this fold, and now another fold you've created down here. The key for getting straight strips with no elbows is that this fold and that fold need to be perfectly parallel. And a way to see that is bring your ruler over, use any of the horizontal lines. You can use the 0 line. If you have dark fabrics, I sometimes just use the line above that because that's white, so you can easily see better. And then you want to align it with a bottom fold, and then you're going to check up here to see if that fold is parallel. It's probably not going to hit on a line, but you can easily see if it's straight or not. And if it's not, you just kind of adjust your folded fabrics until you have those two lines perfectly parallel. All right, so now we're going to get to the cutting, and that's really what I wanted to focus on, because I saw some people having issues not cutting through all the layers. So when you're cutting, I like to place you want to place your rotary cutter in the teardrop at the bottom. I like to kind of turn it on the side a little bit to make sure I'm dropping the blade in here, but you don't want to put any pressure on it yet. I'm going to move this a little bit up so you can see even better here. So drop it in, and then before you put pressure, you want to make sure that you make it perfectly straight. So the blade is perpendicular to the cutting mat. Because the slits run straight, we have to have the blade running that same way. So now you're ready to put pressure on. And for that first cut, if you're right-handed, just 2 fingers on that little lip. You don't need to put your hand over here. The ruler's not going to go anywhere. And then you're just going to push through. And when you cut, you start hearing that sound, and you start recognizing that sound. That makes sure that you are cutting through all the layers. If you start to hear something like this, I heard that I probably did not reach through somewhere on the way. So instead of lifting your ruler and checking, just go right back into that slit and cut through it again, and that will take care of it. And so instead of lifting it up and checking, and then it's really hard to realign to finish those cuts. So once we have our strips cut, you can do your subcutting. But I wanted to talk about the different types of cutters if you have these straight handle cutters or ergonomic cutters. And when you're cutting through, one of the things, if you're not reaching through somewhere on the middle, if it's on the top or the bottom, it's probably because your folds are positioned either too far down or too far up so that you're not reaching through the top and the bottom. That is never going to be an issue with the XL because the slits are so much longer versus the original. However, if it's happening somewhere in the middle or randomly somewhere, what's probably going on is as you cut, when we start down here, we keep our cutter at an angle. And then as we move your hand forward, that angle kind of drops. So you drop your angle as you move down, but what is happening, so we're going to look at the back of our cutter. So we start at an angle like this, and we have a lot of blade, but as that angle drops, we lose the blade. So when we're working with these straight handle cutters, we want to make sure that you start at an angle and keep that angle all the way through so that you have enough blade through the full cut. So that is usually what's happening. So make sure you check your angle. And you know, for the most part, I just tell people, my students, to check their cutters. Pull the blade guard back, and if you have this type of cutter, pull them back on both sides and then look at it. See where the widest part of your blade is, and then make note of that so that when you're cutting, that's the angle that you need to keep throughout the cut. If you have ergonomic cutters, you pull the blade out, and so those are designed to have your wrist at this angle throughout the cut. So if you lift those cutters, you will lose your blade at the same time as when you drop the angle of the other cutters. So just for those two, pull the blade guard back, look at where's the widest part of my blade, and that is the angle I need to keep for making my cuts. All right. Any questions on this? So throw out some questions. It's really all about your angle, keeping that, you know, angle so that your blade is reaching through all the layers of fabric. Now, getting a new blade for your cutter is always going to be helpful too if you're having issues with that. So that, you know, once you're starting to push too much, you know that it's time for a new blade. Some
folks didn't think about the blade size.
A lot of people don't think about the blade size, and if you're like I've noticed when I've taught, if your cutter is actually touching the ruler on the top, making marks on the ruler, it's not a good cutter for the ruler. I think that was just one brand of a Fisker's cutter. I don't remember exactly which brand it was, but it was just so that that blade was just kind of moving inside that cutter, because what happens when you use cutters a lot, especially the old school alphas like this one, which is one of my favorites. So if you check out, let's just go to the overhead because I can show you better overhead close up. So there's a little hole here that this screw goes through, and there's a lot of action going on in here. So if you've had your cutter for maybe 20 or 30 years, what happens with this hole, and this is actually what I've seen in many classes, is that hole becomes an oval. So it becomes an oval, and then so even you can pull, if you can pull your blade guard all the way back, once you put pressure on the blade, it slides back. So there's less and less blade. So yes, cutters do wear out. It's not just enough to change your blade. Sometimes it's just time to say goodbye. So this is an Alpha rotary cutter, just their basic 60 millimeter rotary cutter. But they are they have this type in both 45 and 60. So this is their classic cutters. They're great, but just, you know, if you see that that blade is starting to get smaller, check it. Check and see if that is still a round hole or if it's an oval. That does not happen with the splash cutters because they're designed differently on the back.
Someone loves their Martello.
Martellis, yeah. A Martelli cutters, it's a different way to hold them. I've never gotten the hang of it just because I'm used to my other ones, but a lot of people love these cutters. So these I really recommend, just because the blade is so off to the side, is make sure that you angle it when you place it in the slits, and then it works really, really well. And it has a lot of blades, so even the 60 is even bigger. So those work well for those people. It's ergonomic, so it's better for your wrist and all that if you have any wrist issues. What if you cut multiple layers?
Is a 69 millimeter better?
Is a 60 millimeter better? Yes, of course. The bigger blade is going to allow you to cut more layers. So like I said in the beginning, 45 millimeter blade allows you to cut 4 to 6 layers, and a 60 like 8 to 10, maybe 12 layers of fabric. So yes, definitely better for cutting more layers. Okay, let's see.
Love the colors, love the information.
Good, good, good. Barbara says I'll have to check my cutter hole. Good info. Yes, it is good. We've had a couple of funerals for cutters in class when we've dropped them in the trash can.
Love an online lecture.
Everybody's loving the idea of online lectures. That's great. Yeah, so I hope that you learned a little something about this, and you can kind of take that info and then go back and watch those videos. I do talk about all of this in those 101 videos. So Stepology 101, there's part 1 through I think 6. So for all the different rulers and kind of talking about different things you can do.
Someone lives in a damp climate. My cutter seems to get film when it sits. Will just clean the blade help, or should I get a new one?
So somebody's talking about lives in a warm climate, and when you're not using your cutter, it gets damp, or
they live in a damp climate.
Oh, then so what happens? So it gets
a film on it.
Oh, there gets a film on it on the blade. If it sits. So I think it should be okay just to clean it. She's wondering if she needed to replace the blade or get a new cutter. But I think it should be, even if you get a film on it, just clean it, maybe with some rubbing alcohol or something. But that should not harm the blade itself. I wouldn't think so. If you feel like as you're cutting that it's like the blade is not turning, then there might be some corrosion going on or something, but I think it should be okay. So just take it apart and clean it with rubbing alcohol, and it should be fine.
Tips for broken rulers.
Tips for broken rulers. So of course it happens. I have dropped my ruler on the cement driveway and stuff like that, and so it happens. I have picked it up from a corner accidentally and it snaps. So always when we're picking up our rulers, we want to either use both hands or picking up from a middle, especially the big ones, because it is a big piece of acrylic. But of course it happens. So I have a couple that I have done a little surgery on, so I recommend just a little bit of super glue in the where the crack. Do not use Gorilla Glue, anything that expands. So just like a regular super glue, and then just clear tape over it to kind of enhance it, and it still works fine. It's not going to affect the accuracy at all, because you can put it right back usually if it just cracks in one place. And sometimes it's not probably not a high traffic place, but yes, it does happen. But do recommend picking the ruler up both hands or from the middle when you're moving it, because it's just not going to support itself picking up from a corner with that big piece of acrylic.
Carol's asking, where do I find the worksheets in PDF or smaller?
Carol's asking on YouTube where to find the worksheets and all the charts that you can get with a ruler. So go to my website, and if you go on the top, there's a button that says more, and under there's bonus material and templates, bonus charts and templates or something like that. In there you can find all the 1/4 inch cuts for the different rulers and things, and all kinds of other bonus stuff that you can just print out. Okay. All right, so any other questions? Nothing more on YouTube? Carol is asking the blade that gets a film on it, does she live in an area with salt water in the air? Could it be a salty film? So yeah, that should just wash off it if that's the case. Leslie says she has a 45 millimeter Martelli, never used. Time to pull it out. Yeah, try it. Like I said, it's a learning curve switching to that, but I'm sure once you start using it, people will love it once they start using it. So.
Sharon Mueller, how should I store my XL, flat or upright?
Sharon's asking how should I store the rulers, flat or upright. So the XL, all the rulers have a hang hole. So if you need to hang it up, if you cannot store it flat, use that hang hole to hang it up. It's perfectly balanced. That's why we have it. Mine is always flat on my cutting table because I use it all the time. If you need to put it away and you don't have a way to hang it up, so somewhere anywhere that's flat. So some people have put it under couches or anything like that. But also if you want to stand it up, if you need to stand it up, make sure you have support on each side. Don't lean it against anything because that is not going to be good for it. So make sure if you do have to store it upright to have that it's, kind of well encased on each side, either, so sturdy enough and not going to fall over or anything like that.
Is there a reason why your rulers are not stiff?
Is there a reason why the rulers are not stiff? So in order to be able to have the slits, this is a different type of acrylic than is in other rulers. As you can tell, those are much more, they don't flex at all. These needed to be flexible because if you were to cut slits in those other ones, they would just fall apart. They would just crack. And the Stepology rulers are made different from other slit rulers because other slit rulers use plastic, and plastic is more flexible, but it does not allow the accuracy that the acrylic does. So there's reasons for everything. Okay, we're going to move on because I wanted to show you some stuff. Great questions, so thank you for all of those. I wanted to show you, so we've been kind of last couple episodes showing you featuring a quilt from the Stepology Squared book, so which uses all 10-inch squares. And you might have noticed I have a quilt behind me from that book. This one's called Fractions. Yes, it might be a little too early to have some Christmas stuff up, but we're getting Christmas fabrics. They're starting to ship. So I thought I'd pull this one out, although this pattern, of course, can be done in any fabric. So the Fractions quilt looks like it's all kind of cut out with templates because it looks like those tumbler blocks, kind of. But so everybody that sees this quilt, and I tell them, I made this quilt in about 3.5 hours from the time I cut open my layer cake, because one layer cake or 42 squares makes the lap size. And people are just amazed with all that. And so I want to show you the method. But before that, I found a few great fraction quilts in the crew photos. So I wanted to just show you those real quick. This is Linda's Fractions. I think this is all kind of patriotic fabrics. So Linda took a class with me in New Hampshire. And so this is awesome. Then we have Anne's. Really beautiful, fun, juicy colors. And it's just so much fun to do a scrappy thing with this quilt. And then we have Katie's. Katie made one using the sheep fabrics that we had a sheep bundle partly, and she added her own, I think. I love that colorway, really pretty. And then we have Cheryl's, another fun one. I don't know if this is Christmas fabric. It might be Christmas fabrics. Kind of looks like it, a little poinsettias. Then we have Catherine's. I love this, all done in neutrals. This one's really cool. And then last but not least, we have Mary's, done in kind of shibori style fabrics. I love this, really cool. I love the flow of this quilt. It's just kind of great for those if you love scrappy stuff. But so check out how easy this is to make. So you can use either the original Stepology ruler, which is shown in the video, or you can use the squared, or you can use the XL. So check this out. Isn't this cool? You kind of just magically end up with 2 different blocks. So you have the blocks with the thick center, and then you have the blocks with the skinny center. And then you just alternate them in vertical rows. Easy, easy, easy. If you press it right, everything will nest together. So really fun. And the reason I wanted to talk about this quilt, because I like to give you kind of ideas, and I had this idea from a while back when I wanted to redo this pattern after the book came out. I had thought, how would it look if you tried to create it in an ombre effect? So using fabrics that would be lighter on the top and kind of create an ombre effect. And so I tried it. I just pulled some fabric from my stash and I sewed it up. And at the moment, as the quilt top, was done, I didn't really like it. So I didn't take it anywhere. I didn't do a tutorial on it or anything like that. But then, so as last Christmas, or it was in November, when I started pulling out some quilt tops that I always have this stash of quilt tops that are kind of my test quilts and things that I haven't done anything with. And so I was having them quilted so I could donate those quilts to the homeless shelter and over Christmas. So I found this quilt top that I made with the ombre fabrics, and after it was quilted, I fell in love with it. And so check it, take a picture, because I really loved it. And so I donated it anyways, but now I really want to do another one and do this ombre effect. So if you are interested in doing that, here's how I did it. So to determine the size of this quilt, each block represents 1 square. So the bottom row, each row consists of 6 blocks. So that means that row would take 6 10-inch squares. So then you just kind of group it like that. So depending on how many blocks your bottom row has, depending on what size you want to make, you would just take those 6 darkest fabrics and you would just make the blocks for the bottom row with those 6 fabrics. And then the next row, so I just started grouping my fabrics by color hue. And so I just kind of decided on which row they would go in by the color hue, and then that's how I played with it and mixed it up. So isn't that a fun idea? Am I getting your wheels turning? So if you wanted to ask me any questions on how to do that, it's really easy. And if you've made this quilt, you probably will click right away how to do that. So and let me know if you like it or not. I think it's cool, and I can already see it doing it in different ways, because you don't have to start with the darkest on the bottom. You could do dark in the middle and then fade out, or vice versa. Dark on top and bottom and fade into the lighter. You could do light in the middle and fade out. There's all kinds of fun stuff to do. So yeah, there's just not enough time for me to do everything. Can you use 3 ombre fabrics? I mean, you can cut ombre fabrics. This pattern requires you to start with 10-inch squares. So if you have ombre fabric, you would cut those squares and you'd have some that would be lighter and some that would be darker. So then you would use those darker ones for the darker areas of the quilt and then lighter ones. Yeah, so absolutely. But using ombre fabrics doesn't naturally create that look. You would have to do it by choosing which square goes where. Okay. So yeah, another question on using the ombres. This would be fun. Yeah, everybody thinks it'd be fun. So John D is asking, I love how your mind works. Do you plot out your colors before you sew, or do you just sew? No, I would not plot out colors if I wasn't doing something like this. If I was just doing a scrappy one like that, I don't. I just start cutting and sewing, and I just try not to sew the same fabrics or the same colors next to each other if I'm doing a scrappy quilt. So that's all I think about. Just go. Just go. Mary's asking which book it is in. It is in the Stepology Squared book. So the one right behind me here. Stepology Squared. All right. So I wanted to tell you, we talked a lot about Quilt As You Go last Tipsy Tuesday, because on Wednesday, our last project of the Fast and Furious Club went live. So our May Baskets table topper is available now. So it's a pattern and a video class that you can take. And I see a lot of you are kind of getting started on your projects. But I showed you kind of all the other projects, because this is our last one of the season. So the 9th project in our 9-month season. Season 2 will be launched in August, but I still have some kits from the previous months. And you can still, if you didn't purchase the club, you can still purchase all 9 months, or you can purchase 3 at a time or individual projects. And we have some kits. So as our little special for Memorial Day, I have put all the kits at 10% off in the store. So if you're interested, I wanted just to show you which ones we have still available. First, before I show you the overhead, we have this one. This is the Spilled Beans Harper's Garden version. So this is the Harper's Garden version. The other version of the Spilled Beans runner is the rainbow, and that's this one. So I'm going to show you that in the overhead here. So this is the rainbow version, different fabrics. So it's the thatched fabrics, and then I used an Andover background for this. And then we have the Good Times table runners using Stiletto by Moda. So we both have some of the gray, and then we also have the black. So all the kits for Fast and Furious Club come with all the materials for the top, the binding, and backing. And the other two, we have 6 different kits still available. The other 2 that we have is for the November project, the Noel table topper. We have just a few of this color version with the cave fabrics and the gray background. And then we have also this Christmas version with these Moda fabrics. So this kit is available. So this is the smaller version of the topper or the tree skirt. So it can be used for like a tabletop tree. And then we have one more kit in the shop that is not Fast and Furious Club, but it's for these placemats. So the Explore placemats. It's a pattern of mine called Tree Time placemats. It's Quilt As You Go. So on the pattern cover, I used a Christmas fabric, but I think this is just so perfect. So the kits are in 2 colorways, either the red or the blue, but the kit does not come with a pattern, and it does not come with the actual panel. You have to purchase it separately, and we have it still in stock. The reason I did that is just because the panel has 8 different photos, and the kit is for 4 placemats. So I didn't want to choose for you which images you wanted to use. I just love these. They're just perfect for summer, perfect for the cabin, or little gifts for people that have cabins. So really great. So these are 10% off until we're out, and through Monday we'll have that sale, that special going on. So just wanted to tell you that. And before I show you what else we got, we have been so cleaned out of bundles because you all are loving the bundles, which I don't blame you. I am frantically making sure that I reserve some of those fabrics so I can get some too. But I wanted to tell you that the Stratosphere bundle that I showed you last Tuesday that sold out really, really fast, we are getting more. We're getting lots more. So that's already shipping and on the way. And so that will hopefully be arriving sometime next week, and we will put that back in the shop. And a Village Pond was also another one that was hot. We're getting more of that. However, unfortunately, no more Scandi. No more Scandi available in the country. So we have to see if they will reprint it. Everything with fabric manufacturing is way slow. It's hard to get fabric. So we don't know. So I can't promise it. I will keep a tight eye on it because it is so beautiful and so many of you missed out. But we have some more stuff.
Does the Good Time pattern come with the kit?
Does the Tree Time pattern? Oh, the Good Times table runners. So not the kits for the Fast and Furious Club, you would have to go and buy the pattern and video class together. So that does not come with the kits. The kits are just the fabrics to make it. Okay, so we have 2 more bundles that just arrived, and we are just cutting them and packing them right now.
Is there a code for the 10% or is it?
Oh, somebody's asking if there's a code to get the 10%. No, it automatically applies in your cart. So don't worry about that. You don't have to do anything. So it automatically adjusts. I wanted to show you, like these Christmas fabrics. I'm not joking. They're starting to arrive. So we got these really cute charm packs from Moda. This is the Christmas card by Sweetwater. And I love Sweetwater fabrics. They are just so fun. And this one is great because it has so many smaller prints, and that's why I decided to get the charm packs, because I think they would be perfect for some of the little patterns. There is 2 more kits that I just added to the store, and that is for little patterns. It's using charm squares. It's actually some leftover kits that I put together for our cruise. It's for the little Kira pattern, 2 colorways. So you'll find that too if you're looking for kits. But the other new fabrics in the store, we have 2 new bundles. This one is super fun. This one is called Jet Set Europe. And so this one has 12 different fabrics. It's by Clothworks. I really love the feel of these fabrics. But this, how fun is this? We have Paris, Rome, Amsterdam, and just really fun little London, fun little kind of basic, or not basic, kind of iconic places in each place. So this one comes in 2 different colorways, I believe. Yeah, so this ivory background and kind of a bluish, light blue background. Just love these. And then we have these kind of travel fun prints with the French dog. We have the cars with the Vespas, and so much fun. Here's the travel print in a light pink, and we have the cars in this gray as well, monochromatic, and in this blue. So then we have some plaids.
Can we see close up?
Closer than this? Somebody wants a close up. I can't get it much closer, so I want to show you the rest of them. So there's 3 different plaids. I just love how they tie together. I love printed plaids. And then 2 basics, a really nice tone on tone in the pink and the purple. So this is Jet Set Europe. And so let me see if I can show you this close up. So Amsterdam has the Resistance Museum, Van Gogh Museum, Lumen Market, Music Building, and Paris has Moulin Rouge, Eiffel Tower, Louvre, Trocadero, Arc de Triomphe. Rome has Spanish Steps, Pantheon, all kinds of fun little landmarks. Vespas, yeah. So I love that. Even with the dogs have the bandanas, and so very cool. Very cool. Yeah, these have like the doggies. We have a French dog. We have an English bulldog. So cute. So cute. I love this. Very fun. And then we have a Halloween line. Now, I love Halloween. So this one is super fun for me. I love this print in particular. All this poison, and has some great spider web prints. I love how abstract the spider web is, because they're not very always. This is one of my favorite prints, the birds. Comes in the lime green and this awesome gray color, and then this light gray. And then we have, of course, some pumpkins and black cats. This is actually called, yeah, Pick Your Poison. Did I tell you that? Pick Your Poison. So it comes in the gray, and it also comes in this tan. The spider webs also come in a tan with like a little brown spiders. And then this print again in the orange. And then it has 2 stripe prints in 2 colors. So the half yard just makes sure you do get all the different houses. So it repeats 4 times. So you can do some fun stuff with that. I could totally see that at the end of a runner or something. And it comes in the gray too. So these are in the bundle. There's 13 prints in the bundle. And then it also comes with a panel that's sold separately. I think these are so cute. Mr. and Mrs. Halloween. So it has, it repeats twice, and it has this cool banner here, Halloween. And I love these little tags here. I think they'd be fun to just kind of fuse onto cardboard tags and hang it from a little bottle poison, or put on little treat bags or something. Super cute. You can even just back them and put them batting inside like that. So that is just fresh in the store and available now. I know it's a little early to think about Halloween, but you know, these Halloween and Christmas fabrics, they ship so early. We gotta be ready if we want to get some. So that is all new in the store. We also have lots and lots of new 1 yards. If you've checked that out, a lot of restocking done on the 1 yards. We got a lot of grunge this week, and yeah, Moda. We got some Andover back in stock. We actually got a little bit of Free Spirit, and so we have the Tulip Pink Fairy Dust. Let's do a close up here. Can you do it? It's so cool. It's the birds and colorful different stars and stripes. And I love the little ivory background. So some more of the new 1 yards here. But so lots of these in stock. And yes, Village Pond and Stratosphere on the way. And always some more stuff on the way. But that's what I wanted you to know about.
Can you recommend patterns that work with the bundles?
Can I recommend patterns that work with the bundles? That's always a question I get. You know, these are just half yards, so any patterns using fat quarters will always work for these. And then, you know, you may have seen how I cut my half yards and fat quarters into 10-inch squares and 2.5-inch strips, and then you can get sometimes 1.5-inch strips. I have that in that same tab that I told you under that more, and with all the charts where you can find it on my website. There is actually a chart showing you how I cut my fat quarters into and create my own pre-cuts. So you can cut your own 10-inch squares. So that means it works for any 10-inch square pattern. Of course, I think Elvira would look really cool in this Halloween fabric, because I did use Halloween fabric for my Elvira, and Hope as well. So a lot of those can be used. And I wanted to give you one idea too. If you do like that idea of cutting your own pre-cuts, so cutting 10-inch strip and then 2.5-inch strips, and then I always cut a 1.5-inch strip, sometimes 2. If you don't like working with 1.5-inch strips, you can always cut a third 2.5-inch strip. So cut a 10-inch and then 3 2.5. And if you like doing jelly roll quilts or working with 2.5-inch strips. So that's always an option too if you don't like the smaller strips.
Why is your yardage in 1 yard cuts only?
Question from YouTube is, why is my yardage in 1 yard cuts only? It's because we are still we are a home-based business, so I don't have the capacity to cut to order, and we just don't have the space or the time or the staff to do that. And so this is just something that we did always when we traveled to shows. And so we had the 1 yard cuts at the shows for people that wanted backgrounds or accent fabrics for my patterns. And then we kind of just had a lot of requests to put those online, just like we had the bundles. And so we started doing that, and people really like it. And it's just because we can't cut to order. So that was the main reason. So we cut them all and pre-package them that way.
Will there be a label available for Elvira?
Will there be a label available for Elvira, just like the Hope label? I have not made one yet, but a lot of people have used that little image that I created for the Elvira sew-along, listing all the countries that participated and all that. So that could easily be used as well. All right, I think it's time for our giveaway question. So, you know, of course, spring has sprung everywhere, and getting a little bit out in the garden. We just got a fence for our backyard, so now we're starting to plan our landscaping, and I want to get some trees planted. And I have this one space in the corner of the yard where I want a tree that can kind of fill in that area but not get too tall. And so I'm not very good about trees, so I'd love recommendations on what to get. But somebody said maybe a version of a lilac that would still have kind of a canopy but wouldn't get too tall. So I'm gonna have to look into that. So my question is, what is your favorite tree? Now, I love different trees. Of course, I love maples. They're so beautiful in the fall. That's probably one of my favorites. I love birch. Of course, we have our Icelandic native birch that is more of a bush than it is a tree. But those are probably my favorites. Gigantic oak trees, but I have to say one favorite when I first came to the United States is the weeping willows. I love the look of those. Now, maybe not in my yard, but because they get huge, but they are beautiful. So I'd love to hear what is your favorite. So I will be here next Tipsy Tuesday, this coming Tuesday, after the holiday weekend here in the U.S., and second step of the Marina quilt. I'm going to demonstrate the bee blocks for you. And then next Facebook Friday, we'll be here too, this coming Friday. But I hope all of you have a safe and enjoyable Memorial Day weekend. Monday is a holiday here in the U.S. And for all of you that served, thank you so much. And happy Friday, everybody. Have a great weekend. Cheers.